So the discourse around Michael Penix right now is kind of all over the place. You've got people saying we need to get up off of him, bring in competition. Maybe he's not the guy. Maybe this was a mistake, all of that. And I understand where that comes from, especially when you're watching some of the tape and you're seeing the misses, the sacks, and the plays that just don't look clean. But instead of just yelling back and forth on my timeline or in my comments, I want to actually cut through the noise. So what I did was I went and looked at one good game and one bad game. Same quarterback, same season, same offense. I even had y'all vote on Twitter for which games to use, so if you're not following me over there, go do that. And I will say I do have maybe like one or two clips that aren't from those two games. It really just proves my point of things that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm seeing. But that's besides the point. I got to work, and this really isn't about a stats video. This isn't a defend Mike at all costs video. This is about context, process, and figuring out what's actually on the quarterback versus what's coming from the environment around him. So let's get into the tape. So I want to start by showing you what this looks like when things are actually working. And the first thing is we have to establish what his ceiling is. And when Mike is in rhythm, he's protecting, he can make, every single throw on the field. And I really do believe that. I don't think that's really debatable if you watch the tape, honestly. When his feet, his eyes, and the concept are all in sync, the ball placement, velocity, and confidence is all there. So I want you to keep that version of him in mind as we go through the rest of this video, because this is the baseline of what he can be. So let's look at the first. Oh, this is the first play. This is against, so the two games that we did were Buffalo and Indianapolis. So you're going to see most of these clips come from those two games. All right. So this is the first play where we're getting daggers. So we're going to motion in Casey Washington, and he's going to be running a clear out. Okay. Now remember, this turns into a seam, or like he's going to split the safeties if his middle field open, but he's going to keep running down the seam since his middle field closed. All right. But either way, you're getting a clear out by Casey, and you're getting Drake on the end cut right here. All right. And this is a play action pass, and it's also an over the middle pass. And the one thing is, a lot of the narrative behind Drake is that he can't throw over the middle, and I'm not sure where that came from. Okay. So when we watch this play through, you're going to see what I'm talking about. He can turn his back to a defense. So you're going to get this motion like to reset the formation. So you kind of get a bigger surface right here, kind of, because he's kind of split off just a little bit. But either way, you're going to get the motion by KC. You're going to get the play action fake. Okay. And he's setting up the throw right here. Okay. He's getting his eyes around. He's keying this guy right here. Okay. And he see that his back is turned. He's looking at the clear out, go all the way through the middle of the field. And now he has to just hit Drake. That's what he's looking. Okay. So all he does is, and this is also another thing that's been a problem, is he doesn't step up as much. And we'll get into that later. But you see, once he gets his eyes back around, he's going to step up into the pocket, gives a good ball over the middle of the field. Where was this narrative that he just can't throw over the middle of the field? That looks like over the middle of the field to me. Okay. And you see he's able to catch it, and he was able to get a few more yards out of this. Okay. And you can see he put this ball on a rope over the middle. Okay. Nobody could affect this throw, and it's an easy explosive. And then we get to another thing that was a criticism of his, that he doesn't have much touch. Now, I will say that's something he needs to work on, but to say that he never uses touch on his passes is just false. Okay. So this is the touchdown against Indianapolis, right? You're going to get Kyle running down the seam. Okay. Bijan's going to be fast to the flat right here on the wide. You're going to get Drake. He's going to hit shit up, and he's going to turn and go. Okay. And he's the one that actually scores in this play, so keep that in mind. You're going to get Davis Hills on a corner route right here, and you're going to get Darnell Mooney on a choice route right here. Okay. So he can slant or go back out, or just sit it down if it's zone coverage. Okay. And this is one of my favorite first of all, this is one of my favorite games from the year, even though we lost it. I just like the atmosphere of it. But second, look at this, y'all. So you see, once again, now he doesn't step up right here, but he's at the top of his drop, and he kind of steps up a little bit. And you see, look at this. Once he turns, and also he does a very good job of reading his defense, because it's a middle field close defense. So we know we're getting some kind of cover 3 or man-to-man. Look at this. Kyle Pitts is taking out Sauce Gardner with him right here. So he knows that he has all of this to work with. Okay. Now, he could have threw a frozen rope, but he chooses not to, because he knew that once he rolls off of him, he's going to have a lot of space to hit this pass. And that's what he does. He just floats it over there. Okay. He floats it right over the linebacker's head, and he drops it in the bucket. So to say he doesn't have touch, it's just false. He can make every throw in the book. Does he need to do it more consistently? Sure. With the touch passes, of course. But this right here, Like, not every quarterback can consistently make that throw all the time. All right, now let's talk about the environment that he's actually playing in, okay? A lot of this offense asks him to operate in split field and mirror concepts that don't really give you immediate answers. And these aren't catch and throw plays. These are, plays that force you to hold the ball and confirm things post snap. And when you're a young quarterback, and that really matters, you're not getting consistent layups and you're not getting rhythm throws. And now every drop back feels harder than it needs to be. And that's one of my things when I watch this offense. Everything feels so forced, or we have to work hard for every single yard that we get. And a lot of people say the same thing about it that don't consistently watch this. Why does this offense feel so forced? And I'm not saying this excuses the mistakes, but it explains why the game really looked easy for him at times, okay? And I'm gonna show you 2 plays back to back that really show you what I'm talking about, okay? So we are in a base personnel. We're in 12, so we have 2 tight ends. Okay, there go 1, there go 2, and here's Bijan split out wide on the ball. Okay, and in my opinion, we're running a very advanced concept. It's called HOS, or hitch seam. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically a lot of pretty much options. So we have a hitch right here at about 4 yards, but this also converts to a fade versus cloud or press coverage. Okay, so we have the first part of that, and this is a mirrored concept. So you're gonna get the same thing on both sides. Keep that in mind. All right, now the number 2 receiver or the slot receivers, you're going to be getting seam routes by both of them. But guess what? This is also an option route too, because look, it's middle field close right now, but if you get 2 high safeties, you're going to convert these to benders. Okay, now if you really aren't familiar with this, think about the touchdown that Mike threw to Kyle Pitts back in Washington in 2024. Okay, and then you're going to have the running, or the Charlie Warner rather, he's going to be in protection. Now this is very advanced because it requires an offense that's been together for years, and it requires a quarterback that's really good at processing. Yes, that is Mike's strength, is processing, but this is a type of thing where you need your receivers and your quarterback to be on the same page. So that's not going to always happen with a young quarterback and a young offense. Okay, Bijan's my age, Drake is a year older than me, Kyle's what, 25? He's the same age as Mike. Okay, and just to put this out there, I'm 23. Okay, these guys are young, relatively young. Okay, and the way you make this concept easier is what the Patriots do. They just go straight out empty. Okay, and they do HOS wide juke, where they would put the tight end. So think Gronk, or they would also put Edelman right here. He would run the juke route where he would go over the ball, he would work back out, or he would keep working across. Okay, or he would sit it down if it was just zone coverage. This is how you make this concept easier, but we rarely did that. Okay. And then defensively, what we're getting some kind of 2 roll right here, or a non-traditional Tampa. So Christian Benford's going to rotate to the big half. You're going to get Cole Bishop to get off the hash and get to the numbers. Okay, you're going to get Shaq Thompson being the pole runner right here. You're going to get the expansion right to the flat. He's going to go down to the flat too, and he's going to trap it. Okay, we got the hook seam right here. But this is pretty much it. It's a middle field open coverage. So what does that mean? We're going to be getting these benders right here. Okay, and technically you should be getting convert to these go routes, but that's not what happens, because based on the pre-snap read, these guys think, okay, this we're gonna hit you up. Because now look at this. All right, like I said, it requires guys to be on the same page, and you see, not everybody's on the same page. So now he's literally sitting in the bender window. Christian Benford is. Look at this, guys. He's sitting in the bender window, and Drake is hitching up. Okay, he's supposed to be going. He's supposed to stress this guy right here. Okay, Bijan did the same thing. Now, if these are locked, that's even more shame on Zach Robinson. Okay, if these are locked hitches, that's on Zach Robinson 100%. Okay, but let's look at this. Okay, and this is also a young quarterback in non-traditional Tampa's. Quarterbacks struggle with this a lot because it's a new thing where you get in a cover to him many different ways. All right, but you see, Mike is trying to fill out this concept, and he wants to go to Kyle. Okay, that's where he wants to go, but he sees, Shaq Thompson is favoring this. Christian Benford is right here over top. He wants to put it right here, but Christian Benford is right there. Okay, he's gonna drive on that. So now he has to hold the ball. He's got to take the hitch. Okay, and that's only a 2-yard gain. And then we get to the very next play. Now it's a 3rd down, or it's a 2nd down rather. No, it's a 3rd down because that became 2nd and 15. I think this is a 3rd down, but I may be wrong. Either way, it's a long yardage situation. You would think we would run something different, right? You'd be wrong. So now we're going to be running the same thing. Okay, where we get these out and ups. Okay, and you're probably thinking that's not the same thing, but yes it is, because you know how to dress up a concept in different ways where you're still getting the same thing, right? Because The Rams do this where they do Haas, but they do out routes instead. You're still getting the same thing as if it were hitches. Okay, but now we're turning these into out and ups because we want these guys to drive on the out routes. I don't know why they would drive on an out route on a long yardage situation, but that's beyond me on why our coordinator would think that. Okay, because now you're going to literally get the same route distribution, just a different coverage. Okay, and now you're going to get cover one where you can play man on these long yardage situations, and Kyle does come up in just a little bit, but it doesn't help when you're in these long yardage situations because now this front four can go eat. Okay, and now when you look at how this plays out, look at this, y'all. Gregory Rousseau, he wins immediately. He's gonna just bull rush right into Mike's lap. Okay, and this really doesn't even give him time to even like, okay, I see Drake's not there, let me get to Kyle now, because you read it outside to in. Okay, now if this wasn't a bad pocket, maybe he doesn't do this and he's just locked on, I'm throwing it to Drake regardless. That's a bigger problem within itself then. But you see, as the pressure gets in his face, he has to let it go because he doesn't want to take a sack. But if this pocket was nicer, this is probably going to be a catch down the seam. But like, why are you calling the same play back to back? Okay. Oh yeah. So look, it was 2nd and long right here. So see, now you're on a 3rd and long and you have no good plays for 3rd and 13. So this is a lot of this was the environment that he was in too. And so now I want to get to the accuracy conversation. So if you saw the tweet before I made this video, I say that's about a 60-40 thing where 60% of this is like timing misses and 40% of it is like, I can't defend this. So, and I went, like I said, I went to split this into 2 buckets. The first bucket is the timing based misses, where these throws are where the route depth, the landmarks, or the pressure changes the timing just to make the ball look bad on TV. And then there's our throws where people are like, how do you miss that? Or, you know, and he really can't hit a rock in the ocean. Like, okay, let's really unpack that because I have 2 examples of that too. So we're really only worried about the front side of this at the moment because you're going to get man coverage. So you're going to get a corner route by Kyle. You're going to get a choice out. I don't know why it disappeared, but you're going to get a choice out by Drake London. Okay. And I want to show you why all of his misses aren't just him being a bad passer. Okay. He has some bad throws, but he's not a bad passer. Okay. So when you watch this play, okay, you see we get man coverage. It's cover one. All right. Mano y mano. All right. He wants to throw this to Kyle in the corner because that's a mismatch. I don't care what you say. That's a safety on Kyle Pitts. He dominates those matchups every time. All right. You get to this matchup. Look at this. By the time he's ready to throw, look at that. Kwity Paye is in his face. He can't deliver an accurate ball because he's about to get destroyed. Okay. And he throws the ball, and look at that. The ball is a little bit short because he doesn't really have a chance to step into the throw. You see, he's throwing it off his back foot. Look at this. Look at where his back foot is. All right. Look at this. Look at that. Look at how he throws it. He has to throw it off that back foot, and he really can't get his hips around. Granted, he never really gets his hips around on any throw, but still, the pressure, it compounds that mechanical flaw in this game. And now the ball is short, and now we're getting a 3rd and long. So come on, man. And then this is another one right here where our 2 tight ends just get absolutely destroyed on their blocking assignment. So we're getting a 3-level sail concept, right? Where you get the sail or the pylon route by Darnell Mooney. You're going to get a trail release by Drake London, and he's going to be on the sail route. And you're going to get Bijan fast to the flat, all right? This is going to be a play action. He's going to set up the throw right here, okay? Now look at this. This isn't on Mike at all because when you watch this play through, all right, you're going to get the motion by Charlie Warner, okay? You get the play action by Mike. Look at number 91, Tuio Malau. I think that's his name. You look at this. He's going to be both of the tight ends. 91 was double teamed and he still won, okay? And now look at this. When he hits the top of his drop, look at this. Boom. 3, 4, 5. Now he's the top of his drop. If I had the end zone angle ready, I will show y'all, but he's literally right there in his face now. And you see Drake London is about to come open. He wants to throw this sail route. All right. So by the time he gets ready to throw it, he has to back up and try to avoid the pressure now. Okay. And you see now there's nothing really there happening. And now by the time he comes free and he could like kind of reset and throw the ball, look at what's happening. Another 2 more defenders are in his face, Nick Cross and the defensive tackle. Okay. So how can you expect him to accurately throw a ball right here where Drake is, 1, he's slowing down because he think, oh, he's sacked, but 2, he has 2 guys careening or coming in on him. Okay. Because look at this. Look, once again, Drake also stopped on his route. He's not above blame anyways because he just stopped. I don't know why he stopped. You got to keep going right there. I understand he was like under siege, but bro, a lot of this is not his fault. Now we get to the actual inexcusable misses. These are the ones I can't defend. These are like clean pockets, clean base throws, and the ball just doesn't go where it's supposed to. No pressure, no route issue. It's just ball placement, and this is real. This is part of his evaluation. If these don't improve, then the rest of the conversation doesn't matter really. You can explain context without ignoring the flaws, and this is one of these. All right, two more examples. So we're getting, like, I think we saw this like 3 or 4 times throughout this game where we would put like 7 or 8 at the line. All right, we did this the first third down where it was a sack fumble and the Colts had the ball, in our territory. But this is another look that we saw. All right, and this is a 3rd and long too. And I had a theory about this, is that once it's going to be a drop pick by Sauce Gardner, but after this drop pick, I think he had like 4 more completions total, maybe even probably 3. Okay, because what we're getting here, we're going to get Drake London on a hitch route, you're going to get Mooney on the 7, and you're going to get Bijan right here. Because the first time this happened, you had Kyle run right down the field, you had Bijan go fast to the flat, you had these other 2 guys run down the field, and he was looking for Kyle on this hitch route, but it just wasn't there. But you're going to see what I'm talking about. Okay, he's throwing cross hash, a static route. Not only that, Sauce was sitting on it. So when we watch this play, all right, you're going to see the coverage undresses, and you see it was a sim pressure the whole time. All right, they were not trying to go after Mike. It was a standard 4-man rush, cover 3. All right, and what I don't like about this is when you throw these not out breaking routes, but these routes outside the numbers, you don't miss short and inside. And where does Mike miss? He misses short and inside. All right, and he's driving on that. That's supposed to be 6. Okay, he didn't learn from Carolina, apparently not. But look at this. I do think that if one also doesn't help that Drake is slipping out of this break, but if he does put this, outside the numbers or high, then it's not a risky throw. Okay, but he leaves it inside and short, and Sauce nearly picks it off. Whole sideline went erupted, bro. But there was a situation right here, or this is a situation where you got to throw it a little bit earlier, but he did throw it early because look, he threw it right here. Okay, but I do think you got to throw it just a little bit early, maybe half second earlier. Okay, and also that put it in a better spot to where a guy doesn't get it intercepted. Okay, and then we have another situation right here where we're still getting man coverage. All right, Davis is going to motion in, and we're going to be getting a corner out right here. Okay, and we're going to get Bijan on this speed out, and Mike, he just sails it. I don't know how, but he just sails it. Now this is an outbreaking route, cross hash throw. Okay, Mike is known to make these. All right, but he just doesn't make it right here. You see, he throws his ball and it's wide on him. Okay, I could argue that Bijan drifted out of this break, but like, come on, man. Like, this is a clean pocket. You got to make that throw. All right, and you see, he just doesn't. It just sails on him, and these are like real misses that he has, and he has to fix those. And now it becomes a 3rd and long once again because he missed another throw. Then we get to my next issue with him, and this is not necessarily just a bad thing. It's with most young quarterbacks, it's that he's drifting backwards in the pocket even when the protection is initially sound. That backward movement shortens the pocket and invites pressure that doesn't need to be there. And like I said, this is extremely common with young quarterbacks, but it compounds everything. The time and the accuracy, decision making, all of that get harder when you're drifting instead of stepping up. Okay, and when you look at this play right here, this is the end of the half against the 49ers. All right, now look at this, y'all. This is not necessarily a pristine pocket, but you're not going to get pristine pockets in the NFL anyways. All right, but you see top of the drop right here. Okay, and what's really going on right here, Drake's running in a corner post. You're going to get Kyle breaking in right here. Mooney's going to be on a corner route, and they got right there. Okay, but look at this. Number 47, I think this is Joshua. He's going to work his way all the way around. And at the same time, Mike is going to drift backwards this way, making the angle easier to go get him. Now, imagine if he just slowly drifts this way as the loop is coming that way. All right, now he has more time to just sit there and read it out. But he doesn't, because look at this. Now, it doesn't help that Jake Matthews gets walked back into his lap, but still, that doesn't mean you retreat backwards, and that's his natural instinct, is to retreat backwards. Okay, you don't do that. That's a no-no for quarterbacks. You don't retreat backwards, and that's to throw it off his back foot, and he threw it where no receiver was. Okay, and now the flag has to come down. 10-second runoff. Now, the concept for this one really doesn't matter because he's doing the same thing, but I will tell you, I do like this concept that we did where I don't like this part of it, but we're going to be getting this out and up by Mooney. We're going to be getting the OTB by David Sills. We're going to get the shallow cross by Drake. Green grass rules right route here where Jake Matthews is. You're going to get this return route by Kyle, swing by Bijan, okay? But look at this. Another, like, my issue is that he's getting pressure, not even up the middle, but like if it's any slight pressure, he doesn't always step up. Because now look at this, all right? You see, Jake Matthews gets walked back into his face again, okay? He had a down year, honestly. But you see he's going to do that. He's going to like kind of push off of Jake, and he's going to run backwards, okay? I don't agree with that. Maybe if he gets walked back once again, you drift to the soft spot of the pocket. That's what quarterbacks are taught. Like, you get pushed back from somewhere, you find the soft spot, and you kind of just, you know, drift that way. You don't drift backwards, because now it makes the pass rush even better, and you're putting your lineman in a bad situation. Because now look, he walks back. Now Kyle Hinton, he really can't do anything anymore, and now he has to retreat out and just throw the ball away. So it's just stuff like this where he has to get comfortable stepping up into the pocket, or getting better pocket mobility, I should say. That in general needs to be better. And one thing I think that gets misunderstood with Mike is his movement ability. He's not a run first quarterback. Not breaking any news there, but that doesn't mean he can't move. And what he struggles with is escaping, not running. Escaping to reset to throw is more specific. We saw his pro day numbers. He runs a 4.5. People acting like that I don't get it. People acting like he can't run is just false, all right? And you see examples like this where he's going to get out, he's going to make these throws, right? I should tell you guys what we're doing, first of all, okay? But what we're doing dagger, obviously, okay? We're going to get the clear out by Kyle. We're going to get the the in cut by Drake, okay? Simple, but it's not going to be there based off the initial timing of the play. So what does Mike do? He extends the play, okay? Let me move this out the way, all right? And look at this. So he sees nothing is there. The protection is starting to get into his face, or the protection, their pass is starting to get in his face. He works left. He throws on the run, on the money. To act like he can't throw on the run, or act like he can't escape, people calling him a statue, he can't move, that stuff is just not true, okay? He's just reluctant to do it for some reason, because I think the reason why is he wants to win from the pocket now. Maybe because he's scared he's going to get hurt again, because he got hurt multiple times, you know, getting outside the pocket. But we've seen on multiple occasions that he can absolutely do it, okay? And this is another example, easy 30-yard completion, and the ball didn't even go where it was supposed to based off the time. Because look at this, it's Tampa 2, right? Look at this, middle run throughs right there. Deep half is about to come get Kyle Pitts, the other half is about to come get Kyle Pitts. All right, and so what happens? Guess what? You have Drake London on a linebacker out of structure, and look at that. He can't keep up with him. Let's be serious. Come on, y'all. Be serious about that. He can move out the pocket and make plays. And once again, I think the issue is just him not being used to it, because once again, he's a pocket passer. He wants to win from the pocket. He wants to be the guy that wins in structure. And like, I think I've said this before, and I said it on my Twitter before I got into the video making process. When you're a quarterback that thrives off of playing in structure, playing out of structure is like learning a new language, and he just isn't used to that at the moment. All right, still gonna get the same concept right here. We're gonna get dagger. All right, but look what Mike is gonna do. He's gonna once again work out left. All right, Drake is gonna do his in cut. He's gonna work back out. Okay, these guys have a special connection. Okay, because look at this. You see, pass rush gets there, he's gonna step up, cool, but nothing's there. What he's gonna do, he's gonna work out left, and look at that, open receiver throws it on the money. Okay, he can make these plays out of the pocket. And then the last thing I want to show y'all is, like, a lot of this once again still is his environment, is that he doesn't have the best receiving core. Now last year, this was arguably the best duo, him and Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Darnell Mooney. Okay, between both of them, they had nearly 2,000 yards between the both. But this year, Mooney was just not good. This game alone, he had three drops, and this is a play right here, late in the game, 21 seconds left on the clock. I think we had like 2 timeouts. Okay, and we were trying to get in field goal range and win this game. But guess what? Darnell Mooney had other plans. Okay, so you're gonna see Mike does a good job stepping up into the pocket, get into a soft spot, throws a dot, and he drops it. He drops it. Like, I really do think him not trusting the other receivers aside from Drake London really played a factor. And it doesn't help that he got rid of Ray and Casey Washington. And you know, he's talked about how he and Casey Washington had a connection. Okay, and he didn't play after the Buffalo game. I don't even think he played literally at all. Maybe he did, it just wasn't a lot. But when you take away 2 receivers that he trusted and you're putting guys like David Seals, Darnell Mooney, and other guys out here that he doesn't really trust like that, like, come on, man. You can see why he doesn't trust. And then you got this play right here where you're going to get Drake London motioning in. He's going to be running a crossing route. You're going to get like skinny post route, and you're going to get Kyle on this deep over. Okay, it's first play of the Colts game. Everybody was livid. I was too, because if he caught this, it would have been a 60-yard pass. And I'm not saying Mike doesn't trust Kyle, but you can clearly tell there's a trust gap between Drake and Kyle when it comes to Mike's trust. All right, because look at this, y'all. Let's see what I'm talking about. He's going to work across the field. He steps up. Like, when you do get Mike stepping up into the pocket, making a good throw, guys, look at that. You can't ask for a better pass. He just dropped. Oh, it's just so irritating to watch. And keep in mind, guys, I had to chart this play throw by throw. I had to relive every single drop, every single bad throw, everything. I counted at least Mooney had 3 drops. Kyle had a drop. Mooney arguably had 4 drops because there was a bootleg on this side of the field. He was working this way. It got knocked out by a linebacker. You could count that as a drop, but still, it's like, oh man. And so when you put all of this together, a young quarterback, inconsistent protection, few easy throws, limited trust at a receiver, the negatives get amplified. Every miss looks worse and every sack feels even heavier. And the good gets drowned out because the margin for error is so small. That's how you end up with a perception gap between what the tape actually shows and how a quarterback is talked about publicly. From Mike's perspective, there are real things that he has to improve upon. The inexcusable misses have to go. He has to get more comfortable stepping up in the pocket, and he has to speed up his willingness to escape. That mental clock has to get faster. All right, and that's on him. There's no amount of context that changes that. All right, those are solely his responsibilities to get better, and the organization is not above blame either. They also have a responsibility here. If you believe in this quarterback archetype, then you have to build for it. That means offensive linemen who can actually pass protect, okay, receivers who can separate and create after the catch, and an offense that gives him rhythm throw so he's not constantly playing it on hard mode. Shout out Zach Robinson. But my verdict is this: I think Mike can be a very good quarterback, but right now he's a very flawed quarterback, and he has put in an environment that he didn't consistently, have the opportunity to develop. All right, his development is on him, but it's also on the organization to give him the environment to grow in. You can have your reservations about the injuries, and that's fair, but if you understand his play style and his background, the answer isn't panic, it's support and evaluate. Ride him out this year, build around him properly, and then if it doesn't work out in 2026, then you talk about competition or moving on. But I just don't see that happening because I really do like him as a quarterback. But this is all from me, y'all. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys later in this video. Goodbye.